All right, in this lesson, we're going to take a look at something called the operating cycle. Now, we've actually covered operating cycle before, but for merchandisers, we kind of expand this idea of operating cycle because they've got pretty much one or two more steps in their operating cycle program than a service company. So we're going to take a little bit of time to help you refine your understanding of operating cycle. So let's take a look at the basics here. An operating cycle is the process to which a company starts with cash and obtains more cash. So the way that I like to think about it is, what does it take for a company to go from cash, do their entire operations, and at the end of the day, collect even more cash? So that is the operating cycle. Now, depending on what the company does to generate revenue will dictate what the company's operating cycle looks like. So for a service company, the operating cycle will look something like this. They'll start with cash, and then they'll take that cash, and then they'll sell their services. When they sell their services, what are they doing? They're usually providing a service to the customer. Once they've done that, then they will collect the cash from their customers, and then they'll use that cash to pay their operating expenses, and then they usually come back up with cash. So that is the operating cycle. They go from cash, taking their cash, selling services, then collecting cash, paying their operating expenses, and then hopefully they have more cash than they started with. That is the operating cycle. Now, the key thing about an operating cycle is to understand how long it takes to go from cash back to cash. That is an important part of, let's say, a CFO's job in making sure that the company is doing well financially, but also make sure that they have capital and reduce the number of days it takes to go from cash back to cash. Now, how is this different from a merchandiser company? Well, let's take a look at a merchandising company. They'll start with cash normally, and then from there they will buy inventory. So a company will take their cash, buy inventory, and then we would hope they would then sell their inventory. And once they sell their inventory, they'll then collect their cash, and then they'll also pay their operating expenses, and they'll all get back to cash again. So that's kind of what a merchandiser company does. Now, notice here, we've got a couple extra steps. Really, it's this step right here is buying inventory. They have to buy inventory before they can sell the inventory. Now, the critical part here is usually in this time frame of things, there really are two things or two areas where we see the stretch of time it takes to go from cash back to cash. And the first one is the inventory. So we buy the inventory. The key thing is, how fast can we turn that inventory over? Does it take us a little bit of time, or can we do it very quickly? If it takes us too much time, then our cash is tied up in our inventory. The other one is cash collection. Collecting cash could take a little bit of time because we give terms to our customers, and I'll explain terms in another section. But if we give terms, they may pay us later. However, that's usually the same as a service company, because service companies will also provide services and maybe also give terms to their customers. So really, when it comes to merchandisers and service companies, the biggest delay of getting this cycle closed quickly is usually buying the inventory, and the inventory sitting on the shelf and not actually being sold or rotated over time. So that is kind of the operating cycle of the merchandising company. Now, companies rely on the operating cycle to produce positive results in the company's objective. So obviously the company's objective usually is to make money, right? So in order to make that objective happen, they have to make sure that the cycle keeps on going, and the time it takes to go from cash back to cash is as minimal as possible for their type of business. Now, business managers and accountants need to understand this topic because a company's operating cycle includes the time it takes to complete the operating cycle, and that their decisions can be made to try to tighten that cycle and get cash back to your bank account. So it's super important that you understand operating cycle, and you should know how long it's taking your company to go from cash back to cash, because at the end of the day, The time it takes also means that you have cash sitting on the shelf, and nothing is worse than having cash sitting on the shelf and the value of that inventory decreasing over time, which also means you might not get back the money that you put into inventory. So super important you understand operating cycle. So that is a look at operating cycle. The key thing is that we're adding to the operating cycle this idea of buying inventory and then having to sell that inventory before we can then collect, pay our expenses, and then get back to cash. So again, super important for business managers to understand this topic because they want to close that cycle as fast as possible. So hope you enjoyed this lesson, and we'll see you in the next video. Hey guys, it's Patrick. Before you skip ahead to the next section, just wanted to come on here and tell you to not forget to like this video and maybe share this video with someone that you know that would get a lot out of this lesson. Maybe a classmate that you know. This would be a great way to introduce them to this channel. So share this video with them, maybe your mom or your dad, someone, so that they know that you're really learning accounting topics here on YouTube and you're not just playing cat videos over and over again. Now, if you want to help us grow this channel, what would be great is if you press the subscribe button and maybe even turn on the notification bell if you want to get alerted the next time we upload a video to this channel. And put in the comment section below, what did you eat last night? It would be so weird for people to come and look at the comments, but what did you eat last night? I might throw in a comment after you if you put that in the comment section below. So do that now. What did you eat last night? All right, so enough of the fun stuff. Hope you enjoyed this lesson, and we'll see you in the next video.